Hello and welcome to Word on the Street. If you've not listened before, guys, you are, I promise, in the right place if you want to learn how to attract and win more new clients. This podcast is for you. My name is Katie Street. I am not just your host for this podcast, but I am also the founder of a marketing agency called, ironically, Street Agency. And we help B2B businesses attract and win more new clients, particularly in the marketing space and particularly with marketing agencies. On today's podcast, I am exploring with the fantastic Kate Munday, the in-house speaking coach at Google, how you can present your ideas better, overcome anxiety and the fear of presenting, and effectively sell your ideas in better, whether you're on a stage presenting, whether you're in a room with colleagues presenting, or you're pitching to a new client.
Every time we talk and we tell our stories, we're helping, we have the ability to really impact somebody's life. We're helping them.
Today's episode, I promise you, is full of amazing hints and tips and things that you will be able to practice yourself to help sell your ideas better. So, without further ado, let's go and meet the fantastic Kate Munday. Hi, Kate, and welcome to Word on the Street. So for our lovely listeners, I'm not even letting Kate talk. I can see she wants to talk, but seeing as she is a speaker and communication coach, she's going to get to do lots of talking today, as I always do. I'm hoping today's podcast sounds even better than normal because we're recording in a beautiful studio in Bournemouth, and Kate is joining me all the way from London and has fought her way down here in the rain. So first of all, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I feel like I'm kind of going red and like really embarrassed. And like, this is the first time in ages I've recorded in person. So bear with me, and listeners, bear with me. So I want to start, as I usually do on the podcast, with you introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your career and also, I guess, what you're doing now. Now, first of all, tell us about your job title and how it can be confusing.
Yeah, it is confusing. To be honest with you, at this point, I'm not sure what to call myself. But yeah, a speaker, inspirational, international speaker, and a speaking coach or communications coach. It like changes every time it comes out my mouth. It changes. And the people that I'm telling as well, I think it also confuses them because I get a lot of, oh yeah, I know somebody who's got a speech impediment, and I'm like, it's not quite what I do, but I know it's on the same kind of lines, yeah, but actually it's all about narrative and storytelling. So I'm on this big quest, this big journey to help educate, really. And the best form of education is through stories. It's like what we get when we're young, when we're kids, right? It's like those story books. It's a form of education, and it's the same when we're adults. It's how we help pass information to each other. It's nothing new. Stories have been around since the start of time, really, whether that was cave paintings or whatever it was. And that's what I want to help people do today, is basically tell their stories better.
I love that. And so important, especially in the marketing space that we all work in, that you need to be able to sell your stories, not just to clients, but internally often to try and get sign off or to get your colleagues to buy into what it is that you're, trying to achieve. So I think it's on so many levels. Storytelling, presenting your ideas, being able to communicate effectively is hugely important, and it doesn't come naturally to everyone. So I know a lot of our listeners are going to really enjoy today because they're going to learn a lot, as am I. I mean, I have had bits of formal training over the years, but I've always quite liked speaking. I can definitely get better at it though. So I know I'm going to take lots away from today. So obviously, at the moment, you are, as well as doing your speaker, I don't even know what to say now, as well as doing your speaking coaching, you're also working for Google, and you've been their in-house speaking coach for a long time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm doing both. I still work for Google full-time as a creative business partner, so working on basically helping people tell their narratives again, but via YouTube ads this time. And then in my spare time, that's where I do all the coaching. But I also do, obviously, Google's got the luxury of, we everybody gets 20% to put towards a project. So I then started to basically utilize that 20% towards helping people speak and coach. And it was, 8 years into Google now, and 6 years ago, I set up Toastmasters for Google. And then that's just kind of how it all started really kind of taking wind, was getting known for being the person who set up Toastmasters, getting asked to go and coach and do different team trainings and things like that. And then obviously with lockdown, everything just went global, didn't it? So we took that opportunity to put together this how-to series. So how to present on VC. And then we've done another one about how to run a workshop in a hybrid world. And now how to present with execs as well. So lots of training internally with Google. And then obviously, like you said, I also get the luxury of taking that externally and helping lots of people. So
amazing.
Lots of fun.
Is it something that you've always, I guess, loved doing? Has speaking been a big part of your life? Have you got parents that are quite vocal? Like, what do you think has got you to where you are today?
No, I'm going to be honest. I hated it. Absolutely. It's so ironic that I am now a speaking coach. And I do have to laugh sometimes because, you're not alone as well. You kind of mentioned that it was, something that a lot of people struggle with. In fact, like 75% of the population struggle with speaking. And that could be anything, right? It's a variety, it's a degree of anything from shyness to crippling fear of speaking. And I was probably towards that end when I was younger, being a big introvert. I would just, wanted to be on my own most of the time. And dyslexic as well. I've always really struggled with words, written and verbal sometimes. But the thing was, I was born into this family of big extroverted personalities. I think they didn't know what was wrong with me.
How did this happen?
Yeah, exactly. So I got sent off to acting school when I was pretty young. Oh God, and it was terrifying. I remember the first day and those doors opening and all these, thespian type prancing and dancing around, very confident. And I just thought, oh my word. And I was tiny at this stage as well. And I know my mum was really trying to bring that out of me and try and get me to find my voice. And it did help a lot, but I do remember being brought to a lot of auditions I definitely did not want to go to. But I am grateful. I think there was lots of incredible learnings in there, like how to sing professionally, which now I know about diaphragmatic breathing, how to project your voice, and it's a tool in your toolbox, right? So how to use that to its fullest potential. And a lot of that I actually bring in now to some of my training. So it was, as horrific as it was at the time, a great opportunity. And then I guess kind of going through, the funny thing is, isn't it? We, especially in the UK, with our schooling system, we are just not told to get up and speak. In America, there's all this show and tell, bring in things, whatever it is. There's lots of encouragement around it. But in Europe especially, it's kind of a lot of sit down, listen to the teacher. And I think that's a bit outdated, if I've got to be honest. And it's times have changed and we probably need to change with them. And that's really, I think, what I saw in the working world, especially coming into Google, lots of graduates coming in, being given big clients to work with, which was very exciting, but then not having that speaking background to fall back on, no coaching, no training, really. There is a bit at Google, they're very good with that. But that's why I set up Toastmasters. And I've been really lucky, not just Google, but I've worked for Mars and some other big corporates who actually did see the potential in me and invested quite heavily. But I did get to the point where it was fight or flight. I was like, this is either going to consume me or I need to throw my all at this. And I think going into sales and consultancy where you're having to get up and speak in front of people all the time, I was like, right, let's do this. So lots of hours, money, blood, sweat and tears have gone into it. And that's, I finally felt like I got to a point where I was like, yeah, do you know what? Actually, somebody said it to me. They're like, why are you not doing this? This is your gift. You need to go and do this and share with others. And it's so right now, I feel confident enough that I've learnt from some incredible teachers and coaches myself, and I'm repackaging all of the lovely learnings I've had over the years to give those golden nuggets of information, the secrets, the things that people don't tell you as well, those little like secret tips and tricks. And hopefully what I'm seeing, the coaching I'm doing, is lots of people getting a lot of benefit from them, getting those penny drops. And actually then them going on to be amazing speakers as well. That's what it's all about. I want to create incredible speakers, get more people up on stage, or whatever your stage is. It doesn't have to be a stage, actually. Could be just in the pub with your mates, right? That's equally a form of speaking. Or it could be in meetings, or like you said, building yourself up and real brand, whatever that might be. I just want to help people, tell narratives better.
It feels so nice to actually help people as well, doesn't it? When you're doing a job that you love, that you're able to actually see people improving or getting results or in whatever way. Oh, it just feels so good. I love that you said that you hated it, because do you know what? It's really funny. I've had a few people on the podcast who are, I guess, teach people how to. Catherine Allison, I think, is similar. She is previously an actress. I think also previously hated speaking, and it literally put the fear of God into her. And she became an actress. She's now also a presentation skills coach, I think, and does a lot of presentation training. But, so many people are really super scared of this. So to actually hear from people like you and Catherine, who have turned something that they were terrified of, or not hated. I hate the word hate. Hate the word hate. You can't say that. But, to actually see people who have been really terrified or scared, or something that they really didn't want to do, that did make them feel scared, turn that into something that they're really good at. That is a skill that they're able to share with other people, and they're enjoying doing it. I do think that is something for everyone who's listening. If you're worried or scared about presenting, that is something to take away, because having the bravery, if you had never been brave enough to put yourself in that position and try it, you wouldn't be helping all the people that you're helping today at Google and, across the board with your speaking coaching, but you're also doing something that you really love and getting a lot of enjoyment out of it yourself. So definitely, being put in hot water and doing things that feel really unnatural and scary sometimes can really, put the pressure on you, but really make you shine.
So true. And I think it really helps me empathize with people. And I think that's so important. Because I can see myself, I know I've made so many mess ups, so many failures, and learned so much from them. But I can see people going through the same struggles, and I've been there, and I know how to help. And I think that really is key. But like you just said, it's taking that first step in that direction, committing to it as well. And it's about mindset, really. That for me was a big game changer, was, the feeling of being scared and being excited are really similar. The physical reactions, even the hairs in the back of your neck, the kind of sweaty palms, your breath starts to increase. All of these things you get just before you're about to walk on stage are actually the same as excitement. So if you just trick your brain into thinking, hang on a second, I love this, and I'm the expert in what I'm about to talk about, reminding yourself of that, reminding you of what an incredible opportunity it is, because speaking, every time we talk and we tell our stories, we're helping, we have the ability to really impact somebody's life. We're helping them, and we can create shift, whether that's mindset shift or behavioral shift. So it really is, you're just a vessel ultimately. And whatever you say, you're not really ever going to be talking about a topic you don't know about, or you're not an expert in. So you just have to trust yourself and let go. But it is a lot about that mindset shift, which makes the difference, I think.
So true. I tell you what, you're making me think of a personal experience. So I'm very good at talking about what I know about. So, for me, talking about marketing, talking about sales tactics, talking about presenting, all of these kind of things come really naturally, because I know my field, I'm confident in what I do, I've got lots of ideas, and it's what I do day in, day out. So I can talk about this till the cows come home. I mean, still, for me, I am very confident, probably the other end of the scale. Also with
too confident.
Yeah, too so. But with a very extroverted dad and mum, like I've just grown up. You know, my dad has always done acting on the side, lots of presenting, speaking at conferences. I've just grown up, and you're always the loudest, most extroverted person in the room. So I've grown up in the mirror of his image. So that for me, I've never felt scared to go on stage. Although even I will go up and feel a bit like, oh my gosh, there's lots of people. I need to get this right. But I think you're right. If you know what you're talking about, then you can, and you're confident. I often find, we were talking about this for this, weren't we? I was like, I'm so much better not preparing because I know we're going to be able to have a really interesting, good conversation today. However, for me, sorry, I'm going slightly off topic, but bear with because it will come back to topic. For me, when I have to speak, like I had to speak for my brother at his wedding, I literally fell apart. Oh, wow. I couldn't, because anything that's emotional or there wasn't, I felt like the pressure was on me or there was a narrative. I mean, everyone said it was really good, but I literally couldn't speak without crying. I was like, I just couldn't get through it. Like, but when I know what I'm talking about and I'm confident, I'm fine. But when it's something, I don't know, maybe it's an emotional thing. So what tips for people that maybe do find speaking quite emotional and I loved your tip about the reframe at the beginning, but anything else people can do before because it can be, like you say, whether you're presenting to a boardroom or you're standing on a stage in front of hundreds or thousands of people, most people are going to have some sense of nerves. So the reframe I thought was amazing, but anything else that people can do to try and calm themselves?
I'm sure your speech was amazing, by the way.
Oh, thanks, darling.
I'm sure it was. But that's interesting, right? And I think that just demonstrates that I work with a whole variety of different people who are literally just starting out, who are, like you said, are struggling with confidence or barriers that are blocking them from speaking, or people are really good, like they're getting on stage and speaking to thousands of people, but it's about fine tuning, or it's situational as well. So it's a whole, and like you said, your stage can be speaking at your brother's wedding, but it can also be doing a podcast and speaking on stage. There's lots of different varieties and forms of speaking as well. What I taught and what I guess the key things I look to achieve with my clients are, number one, what's your essence? What makes you, Katie, you, that is like nobody else? And then how do I get you to really lean into that and bring that to the stage so that you are being your truest, most authentic form? Because I think that is what really wins hearts and minds. Because if you try and get up and be something else, fake, people can just tell a mile away, can't they? And we shy away from it. We're like, oh, it makes you awkward. And again, that's something you want to do as well when you're speaking is obviously you want people to remember what you're saying. And listen and pay attention. And with that, you want them to feel relaxed. So the more awkward you make them feel, obviously the less relaxed they're going to be. And that's why we're talking about before you get on stage, that prep work is really, really important so that you don't come across awkward as well, because it's an energy exchange when you're up on stage. And if you have seen a bad speaker, and which I'm sure we all have been there, you did it yourself just then, you kind of wince, you kind of wince and you're like, oh God, I feel sorry for them. Oh, they don't look like they're having fun at all. So that's it. We need to turn it into that opportunity, that like exciting thing with a big smile on our face. And smiling, actually, funny enough, when you smile, you release endorphins, you trick your body to thinking you're having a great time. And even they did it with their call centers as well. They did an experiment about, could you detect if somebody was smiling or not through their voice? And they found when people are smiling, their whole tone of their voice changes. So it's something that, that pre-work planning, plan what you're going to say, start simple and easy, all those things, ease yourself in, make sure you feel like you're going to have a great time up there. There's all these lovely tricks to getting on stage. And then it's really, when you're up there, about trying to get yourself into flow state. Yeah, so I believe there are 3 different decision makers in your body. So you've got your head brain, obviously, you've got your heart brain, which is obviously the emotional bit. Probably where you may have found that talk quite difficult because you were speaking from your heart. And then you've got your gut, your stomach, your instinct, as people describe it. And speaking from any one of those is never any good, because I guess the best example is you probably hear people go and in the middle of them talking. And that's actually because they're in their head brain and they're trying to think of what's the right thing to say. But actually there is literally no right thing to say. The audience have no idea what you're going to say, and whatever comes out of your mouth is the right thing. It's just trusting that and aligning those three centers. Because again, if you're talking from your heart, you're probably quite emotional and running away with yourself. And so it's, again, like I said, getting into those flow states. And there's lots of different practices that I work with that help people get into that state. And you can do that before you go on stage as well. So I don't know if you've been in a green room with any speakers, but there are some crazy things going on. Tony Robbins, if you might know him, but he's one of the best speakers and motivational speakers. And he does this thing where he has a little trumpet that he bounces up and down on, and he does like this kind of turn and clap. And he gets himself into this state of mind and being before he then goes up on stage. So yeah, I also work with people of creating their pre-stage. If they're at that stage in their journey, what can you do pre-stage to get you into that flow state?
What do you recommend? So I've done some quite interesting. So I've been sent on courses where I think it was called like Presenting with Passion, and we went to this hotel for a week and I was taught how to present. And I mean, I'm very expressive, so I'm always using my hands and my arms, probably way too much. But things like for me, because I know that I am quite expressive, I almost have to tone that down and not wearing too much clangy jewelry and things like that. But the meditative state that some people go into, or the other way, which Tony Robbins does, which is a bit more of a power state. You know, I've been taught to do things like hold my arms up high for like 5 seconds, or almost like do star jumps. Is there anything that you recommend specifically? And I've had that with people, when I've been going into a pitch scenario, and you're pitching to a creative idea to a really big brand. And I've got some people in my pitch team who would want to be like, I need some Zen time. Don't talk to me. I'm going to reread our proposal or our pitch deck, and just don't talk to me for 5 minutes. Some people who are like, I'm going to go for a run around the block. Like, is there anything that you recommend, or is it really a personal thing?
Yeah, I think it's the latter, really. It is. It's all, again, like I said, it's about that authenticity and getting people to be as authentic as possible. That is start to finish, right? So in the coaching that I do, I offer people a wide variety of different solutions and get them to try out different things as well. And it really is a test and learn. I think that's the beauty of it. We can, suggest things and work with you, but I film all of my clients so they can watch themselves back. And they're like, oh, I didn't know I was doing that. Like you said, the clangy joy is really annoying, or the waving my arms around, or whatever that is. Sometimes you don't realize you're doing. And actually, it's about yourself having those realizations. And ultimately, that is all I actually am as a coach, is a facilitator. It's actually not about me at all. It is literally about the people I coach and just getting the best out of them, because it's all really inside them already. It's just about drawing it out in the right ways.
Yeah. It's so true though, isn't it? I think we all have the power to do this, and we probably all have the knowledge to do it, but you need someone to facilitate you on that journey, to remind you about being more open and not having your hand in front. Sorry, that probably sounds terrible to anyone listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anywhere else, but not having your hands over your mouth. There's lots of things to remember, and sometimes because we get nervous, we do forget some of those things. So I think having someone to remind you, those best practices can really, really help.
Yeah.
Hi guys, sorry to interrupt, but of course I have to interrupt, because if you've not listened before, you will not know about Tamba, and I do not want you to miss out. So, as well as being the founder of Street Agency, I am also one of the co-founders of Tamba. Tamba stands for the Agency New Business Academy. And if you like this podcast and you like seeing this content or hearing this content, then I promise you are going to love Tamba. It is filled with all of the hints, tips, content, training, templates, live events that you need to help you attract and win more new clients for your business. So I'm not going to talk too much more. I'm going to let you listen to this fantastic episode, but I'm going to direct you to go and visit www.tanba.io and go and check out some of the free content that we've got on there as well. So that's www.tanba.io. And I hope to see you there on one of our live events very, very soon. The next thing that I really want to talk about, which we've kind of already started talking about, is I know one of your, I guess, kind of mantras is about navigating your narrative. And we have started to talk about that a little bit already. But what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so this is it, right? Like I said, my mission is to help educate our nation through narrative. And we're living in a big narrative, right? Your life is literally a story. You choose what that story is going to be, which is super exciting. And ultimately, we get to look back at our stories, at things that have happened to us, and break those down into these micro stories that we then get to reshare. And that's why history is his story. That's why it means that, right? Because, and again, like I said, there's nothing new about stories, really. It's been happening since the start of time. It's the lens of the beholder. It's told through a lens, and that's what we pass down information from one person to another. And you get to choose what story and how it's told. So that's why it's really exciting. And that's ultimately what I do, is help people understand what their narratives is. It's crazy. Honestly, one of the things I get time and time again, a lot of this from women actually as well, especially, it's like, why would anybody want to listen to my story? It's boring. Like, no, oh my word, you're so wrong. Go on, tell me that bit again. I'm like, go back. Tell me that, but that's so interesting. So I think people do themselves disservice in the first place, thinking that, I don't know. For example, I think I've been through quite a bit in my life. And people say as well that, God, I've not been through as much as you. And I'm like, that is rubbish. You've been through your own stuff. Trauma can't be weighed or measured. And comparison is a killer, isn't it, really? So we need to get out of that and actually just realize that the more we tell our stories, the more we have an opportunity to, impact and change somebody's life. It helps people resonate and relate to one another as well, which, at this day and age, when we just spent 2 years in lockdown, hiding behind a computer screen, face-to-face communication is the number one form of communication. Hands down, there is no denying it. But we still love to hide behind a text message or an email. So it's just about, and I do think that is a confidence or a getting back into the swing of things as well. People are with this hybrid world and getting back into working. There's a lot of readjustment going on as well. So this is why I think having somebody that can help you, lean back into that and recognize what incredible stories you do have to offer and what platforms potentially might be best for you as well. You might not know, is radio or podcasting, or do you want to go down the TV route, or do you want to get up on stage, or whatever that is, figuring that all out. And having, we've all heard boring stories. Like, we all have, let's not deny. So it's like, how do we not do that and tell really good stories instead?
Yeah, and it is, I do totally echo you that you have really got to be honest. You've got to be honest. You've got to understand what you believe in, what you value. And I personally believe you've got to show up as your true self, whatever it is that you're doing. It means I tell everyone everything about me, which is probably not always, you don't always want to hear, guys, but sorry, you do hear it anyway. But I think for me, that works. And I'm quite confident doing that. Not everyone is necessarily, not everyone wants to give away their whole life story. And do you know what? That's fair enough. But I think if you can show up as your true self, talking about what you believe in and why, yes, there are going to be some people that don't empathize with your story or don't believe in what you believe in, that don't, think in the same way as you. But if you show up and you're not true to yourself, then no one's going to engage with you because it's going to appear fake. It's not going to, people can see through that, especially when you are face-to-face, person-to-person. So for me, if you know what you're talking about, you know what you believe in, do you know what? out of an audience of 100% of people, you might only engage with 20%. But as a business, or as a person as well, I don't want everyone to, well, I do probably want everyone to love me. I do want everyone to buy my business, but I don't need everyone to love me, and I don't need everyone to buy my business. 20% would be more than enough. In fact, probably most businesses only need 1 or 2% of their audience to actually buy them, maybe even less than that. So if you can stand for something and get people to come on that journey with you and empathize with you and believe in what you believe in, I think that is, honestly, it is the key to everything, because then you can tell, more empowering, more real stories, and you will take the right people on the journey with you. The other ones, you probably don't want to work with you anyway, or you shouldn't be working with, because they have totally different beliefs to you, and they're not going to be great for you to work with.
So true. And do you know what? I get this all the time still as well. I actually did another podcast back in kind of May time, or earlier in the year anyway. And it's funny because I was going to talk about having a breakdown. And I was really struck because I was like, God, people are going to judge me. And this comparison thing, right? I was like, people are going to like compare what trauma they've got to my trauma and maybe say like, oh, it wasn't as bad, or I've had it worse, or what have you. And actually, I just came to the conclusion that it doesn't matter. Like, even if I can tell this story and it helped one person, that's great. Maybe somebody watches it, or listens rather, and they're like, okay, interesting, not my bag, but whatever, and that's also equally fine. Like, you're not, like you said, you're not going to help everybody. I think that's unrealistic. But if you can just, shift the mindset of a couple of people, that's great. Like, you literally could save somebody's life. Like, this is the reality of it. So I was like, whatever, I'm going to do it. I'm like, and I also teach this, right? I teach people to go and speak your truth. Yeah. So I was like, I actually have to go and do this myself. So I just
Scary. Yeah. Oh my gosh, no.
Exactly.
Well done you, by the way, for doing that. Did you, so like a nervous breakdown? Am I allowed to? I mean, I have quite a lot of, so again, I've probably spoken about this a little bit on the podcast, but not gone deep. So my mum had a proper psychotic breakdown when I was 11 years old and didn't know who I was, properly went. So breakdowns for me, I can talk about it okay now. I'm not going to have a live panic attack, I hope. But I used to. I would, in my early 20s, if anyone even started talking about mental health or breakdowns around me, because I'd seen so much as quite a young child, or in my early teens as well, it scared me, because I thought, oh my God, it's going to happen to me. I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. So that would then induce a panic attack. So I wouldn't have been able to sit here and listen to you, because it would send me off on a whole like panic attack journey. But that probably is why I'm quite a confident speaker. So I almost now have the opposite problem, where I've probably blocked certain emotions, and I am in therapy about this, but where I've blocked certain emotions because I'm almost scared to feel them. So for me, I don't feel them, I don't get nervous, I'm totally fine, that nervous energy doesn't affect me, means at work, I'm a good presenter. I can be crying 1 minute because something really bad has happened, and then within 2 seconds I can wipe my tears away, turn up on a Zoom call, and everything's fine. So which is I don't know if it is healthy from a work point of view. It means that I can get on and do things and that work is fine, but it means there are other things that in my personal life that probably aren't benefiting it in quite the same way that my work does. So I'm really interested. I don't mean that this isn't in the brief, so I told you we were going to go off topic. But
thank you so much.
Tell me about what happened then, and how, I guess that's if you're happy. Don't just tell me about what happened, but how that's helped you get to where you are today. Because I'm also a huge believer in the things that don't break you really do make you stronger. And we learn so much from those tough times. We learn so much more when things are hard than we do when everything's rosy and easy. So I'd love to hear a bit about what happened.
Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate it.
Sharing.
No, I really do appreciate it. And whenever somebody shares me, I'm like, that is like the biggest gift you can have, right? So I really appreciate that. And it's a coping mechanism, isn't it, clearly, on what you said, but you actually admitting it and understanding it is like you being retrospective with that and looking at yourself, I think is really cool. So
thanks, darling.
yeah.
And do you know, it takes you a long time to get there. I mean, I just turned 40 this year, but it took me probably into my late 30s to be brave enough to go there. I think it takes a long time, and I wish I'd spoken to people like you when I was younger to help me get there. But you know, you get there when you're supposed to get there.
Yeah, exactly. It's a cool journey, isn't it? But those bumps will get you. Yes. So I think, first of all, when you're speaking about a big topic like that, like I've got a client of mine at the moment who's, again, wants to speak about a big topic, but is just not quite there yet.
No.
So it's also really important before you do get up on a stage and something like that, that you are ready to talk about that whatever's gone on. So I think that is really important. And I felt like, I was ready. It basically happened during lockdown, and it was kind of the end of lockdown, but it was a build up of lots of different things. And then a breakup with one of my exes was just like the icing on the cake, really. And I hadn't properly dealt with, I think, the breakup. And I was just keeping myself distracted, as we do. And then when people go through breakdowns, it's really funny, isn't it? That, like, you know, some people go shopping, they buy a fancy car or a new wardrobe. Some people go out drinking, taking drugs, or whatever it is to distract them from ultimately what they need to deal with, which is their emotions. And this time I thought, right, I've actually been putting this off, so I need to deal with this right now. My whole weekend miraculously cleared, and I was like, okay, God, I knew there was something kind of on the horizon. And it all just kind of came to fruition. And I think that's it. It's understanding that emotions are in motion, they're moving, and they're never a lasting thing. But it's understanding why you feel like that and asking yourself those big questions. So typical me, I actually found it a really interesting experience. I was like, God, after I'd finished making whale noises and honestly, then I was like, God, when you hit rock bottom, there is literally only one way to go. So it actually was a beautiful opportunity for me to go, right, okay, like, who am I? What do I know about myself? Where's my moral compass? What's my, put those building blocks back together again, and then start thinking about okay, so I'm not where I want to be with certain aspects of my life, and where do I want to be? And I really think about life being kind of those 4 buckets. So it's your work, your relationship, your family, and your friends, and mapping out each of those. Oh, sorry, to hit that.
That's fine. Don't worry. They need a punch sometimes.
Mapping out each of those, really understanding where I am now with them and where I want to be. And then breaking that down into a bit more digestible chunks. And really trying to understand okay, what are those smaller stepping stones? What can I literally do in the next week or tomorrow to make a difference and kind of make some headway? And, when we tick things off our to-do list as well, it makes us feel like we've accomplished things and we've achieved it. And I think that's a real important, thing, rather than being, and God, I have had my bouts of serious depression and not being able to get out of bed. And it's being able to actually, feel like you're making a change and steps towards, those goals that you've set out. I think were a big difference for me. Is that, I'm lost my tangent now.
No, you haven't. That is amazing. But do you know what? It's so right. And thank you for sharing, by the way, that I do truly believe and I've spoken, I mean, gosh, I've been in and out of seeing life coaches, counsellors probably since I was about 11. And actually, when a lot of people talk about this, when someone has a breakdown, it's really freeing because you don't, please excuse my French, don't give a shit. You literally don't care anymore. And certainly for my mum, she did probably at that one point you don't care what anyone thinks about what you're saying or you're doing or you're ranting about or you're screaming about. And actually that's really freeing. And when you have hit rock bottom or when you have lost something or you can't you can't see what's next. When you do start to break through that, and like you say, emotion is, or things move very quickly. You have to remind yourself that this is a temporary time. It feels like you're stuck in the trenches and you can't get out, but you do. We always do. We always do.
Yeah.
And reminding yourself, if you've had tough times before, I got through that. And I think the building blocks that you take from that, exactly like what you're saying, whether that's a learning within business, whether that's a learning within your personal life, what you go on to do next is usually, you're creating yourself a better life, or you're creating yourself a better, whatever it might be, because of that really tough situation. So I actually see those tough times as quite a blessing in life now, as much as I hate them. I mean, God, I've had some really dramatic things happen to me in my life. Like, my daughter's father went to prison when she was 13 months old. So that was pretty traumatic. My mum had a psychotic breakdown. Loads of really horrible things.
Wow.
And those are just two. Believe it or not, there are lots more than that. But even things that aren't that big, like, at the moment, I've got a lot of my staff who've been with me for a long time, the lovely Katie DLC, who you've met, who are leaving, which feels, there's a lot for me to work through at the moment within the business, and it feels hard. But I know the next phase of my business is probably going to be better, because I will have learned so much from what's happening right now. It's going to help us grow into something that's probably healthier than it was before.
Yeah, I love your positive mindset. That's great. And I think that's what's difficult about these like breakdowns, right? Or like an episode, or like, so I called my boss up after this and I was like, just want you to know this has happened, and like, I want to talk about this. I think it's really important that I do. And he was like, yeah, I back you 100%. Like, let's use Google as a platform for you to get this message out there, which is incredible, right? And I'm very blessed that I also do have that backing and that voice and being able to share in that way. But I didn't know how to describe it. And he was like, what, like, how do we define this? Like, there are only negative connotations to
so
a breakdown.
True.
And it's like, actually, so that's where this like breakdown to breakthrough came as a title. And now I deliver it also as a speech as well. Because you can't have the rainbow without the storm, without the rain, right? You need to have the dark times to have the breakthroughs. And actually, like you said, your best failures are normally the best learnings. But it's just being able to see through that. And I think something that I've been toying around with a lot lately is like, this happiness gets bantered around so much. Got to be happy. Are you happy? How are you doing? Da, da, da. And it's like, actually, is happiness a little bit unachievable sometimes? I think, especially when I've been going through bouts of depression, it's like, that just seems like a really far away goal. But it's like actually getting to certain stages, and like I said, breaking it down into chunks, manageable chunks. And maybe that's just being content. In fact, rather, I think I'd prefer contentment to happiness these days. That kind of like, plain sailing, like easygoing, rather than this. I think I see happiness as these big spikes of like dopamine. I would rather the consistency. But anyway, it's like, how do we get to those places? And like you said, you reached out for help, right? And it's getting people to acknowledge that there's so much strength in that. It shows strength in your character. It's not a weakness. And I've got to be honest, my upbringing was a bit like that. I didn't cry until the age of like 23. Not much anyway, because it was like seen as if I was like really sad about something, I'd go out and do something rather than actually listening to myself and feeling my emotions. And it's what I realized with my most recent breakup earlier this year is I was really keen. Actually, it's funny. We were like talking about going back to work, right? So everyone's been going back to work. We were laughing about this the other day. Going back to work, and obviously some people have bought a house, had a baby. Some people have got a dog or whatever. And there's me. I'm like, I've had 2 breakups. I don't know what that says about me, but anyway. So the most recent one was really quite a big deal for me, and I couldn't get out of bed. And like I said, I learned from that first time around, that breakdown where I didn't deal with my emotions, and it all came up, and it took me a lot longer to get over it. And I was like, right, that's it. I'm gonna feel the feelings that I'm feeling, and it helped me get through things so much quicker. And don't get me wrong, I had help. I had a amazing support system of friends around me, which I think is really important. And I was like, yeah, hit me. Therapists, counselors, whatever you've got, I'll take it. I wanted just as much help as possible. And I think that actually is the same thing with speaking. I'm going to bring it back around.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
No, but it's true. It's life, isn't it? You can, all of these things that we do in our personal life, we are people, and you try and, I guess what I'm saying is don't worry if it doesn't feel like we're talking about worky stuff, because actually we're people that work. So it doesn't make what we do at work and how we deal with things is actually the same because we're people. And I think sometimes people think, in business that you need to, no, we're still people. I mean, look, yes, maybe sometimes you do need to hold it together and act slightly more professionally, but actually everything that happens in your personal life is the same in your business life, and you can apply it to personal 100%. Things, apply to business things and speaking and everything. So
exactly. Yeah, I'm a big advocate of coaching and asking for help as well. So currently I have 9 different coaches. I know some people are like,
oh my goodness, right, come
what
on.
are you doing with 9 coaches?
I need to know, what coaches have you got?
Obviously speaking coaches, because I constantly want to learn from other people as well, what they're teaching. Because I want to see how does my content align? And are there any new things I'm missing as well that I could be helping bring to my clients? So speaking coaches, and one of them is really improv, and one of them is very stage, so different forms of speaking as well. I've got a few life coaches that I use for different aspects of my life. So some very business orientated, some day to day. One of them is very family, and going back to your inner child and things like this. I do also have a therapist as well on the go. Fitness coach, can't forget them.
Got one of those. Love seeing my PT. She is a ball of. I mean, she is a coach in herself, and we talk about all sorts of stuff as well when I'm with her. I love that.
Exactly. It's like mental reps, physical reps. Yeah. What's the difference? Yeah. Right. You've got to be doing the whole of your body. It's all a part and parcel of it. And a nutritionist as well. I've just started with getting my diet, because I think what you put in your body as well is super, it affects everything. Probably need a sleep coach somewhere in there as well. but I think, Richard Branson had 47 coaches or something, and Steve Jobs, again, some of these big business people have tons of coaches. So it makes sense actually, because I think you can't take anybody further than you've been. So I'm like, I want to go there. I want to go the whole mile. Take me. So that I can take my clients as well that deep and have the same transformations that I'm seeing in myself. I can share and pass those on to them by using the similar exercises, which is exciting. So, yeah.
I love that. Literally, I solely believe that, all of us need help. I think some people just get so het up in, oh no, I'm going to be fine. And they don't, they're embarrassed to reach out for help. I definitely think that's been a big step change for all of us. The culture of today is, coaching is much more widely accepted. But I guess whether you're doing that within your business life or whether you're doing that within your personal life, I think you need both, right? I'm exactly the same. I'm very open-minded. I want to learn. I'm not going to learn by pretending that I already know everything. Yeah. So I have to speak to people. I have to listen to podcasts. I have to get coaching. I have to go to events. That to me is opening my mind, and it's giving me, that's how the technologies that we use to deliver what we do at work is because I've attended events and heard people talking about them, or listened to a podcast, or you're not going to progress in life if you don't, I guess, try and be open-minded and learn. And I think there are lots of people out there that think that they need to be the be all and end all. Still, sadly, I think it's definitely changing. But I hope, and I can definitely see that people wanting and asking for help is becoming a lot less awkward, let's say.
Yeah, and I think it's really important for me as well, because like I said, we talked about this already, but ultimately what I do is facilitate, right? And hold space for people. And you've alluded to it already. Speaking, God, you leave yourself so vulnerable. It is a vulnerable thing. You open to judgment and criticism. This is what people are afraid of. So when we're in a room coaching, trying to get them better at something, I think I need to be as a coach in a really sound mind, clear, and not bringing anything else. I need to be on my best form so that I can, get the best out of them as well. So, and it's actually one of the reasons I stopped drinking as well. So I'm now a year sober.
Go on, girlfriend. That's so good.
Dude, I want to be laser sharp. I want to be... I can't be hungover, having clients come in and, you're not on form. I need to not have days out and it needs to be sharp.
That's a brave decision though. It's one that I've toyed with many a time, and I should not be drinking at the moment because I'm about to run a marathon in about 3 weeks.
Wow. I love it.
But you're so right, because if I'm doing a big pitch or a big presentation or a big talk, I never drink the day before, because I can't sleep as well. Even if it's one glass of wine, you don't show up in the same way. I think that's actually really important some people do drink every day and they're fine, fair enough. But I just can't show up the next. I know myself, and I know I won't be as laser sharp. I won't have slept as well. And those are all really important ingredients in showing up and, being the best version and the most authentic version of yourself.
It actually affects your salivas in your mouth.
Oh my God.
So the enunciation you get after you've had like a glass of wine or something and it also dehydrates you, of course, as well. So it's going to amplify all of those effects before you go on stage. So and the brain fog. Oh, I mean, we've all been there. We've had that mind blank. You don't need the added pressure or complexity of a brain fog.
I definitely don't.
Exactly. So makes sense. Made sense anyway.
Yeah, well done you. Right. So closing comments for our fantastic listeners, Kate. What if they're listening to today? We've covered so much, by the way. I told you we'd go off topic and cover loads of different things today.
I know. There's so much I still want to cover.
I know. I knew there would be. But you are coming on to the live podcast that we're recording very soon.
Very true.
So maybe we'll cover some more things there, because that will also come as a podcast episode. So guys, if you haven't joined or you haven't signed up to join yet, on we're doing so many events at the moment, I can't even remember the date of my own event. So I feel like it's Thursday, the 29th of September. If it's not Thursday the 29th, it's Thursday the 28th. Forgive me. We are hosting a live podcast, which Kate is joining me for in the old Radio 1 Live Lounge recording studio in London for a really intimate breakfast. It's going to be amazing. So things that we haven't covered today, we'll cover then, I promise. But definitely. Leaving things that people need to keep front of mind when they're walking in to deliver their presentation, or whether they're presenting to a small group of people or just presenting their idea to their colleagues or presenting on stage. What would be the key thing that you would, I guess, give people as something they can have in their toolkit?
Yeah, I guess even before we get to the stage, right? The biggest mistake people make is not listening. And that's a massive part of speaking, ironically. And that's twofold. It's listening to your audience to understand who they are. Why should they listen to you? What do they know about your topic? What do they not know? How can we transition and make that shift in behavior and mindset? But also listening to yourself. And I think that's, a big thing, in the sense that we alluded to it about people not knowing what their story really is. And again, I'm going to go back to the title of what I used to call myself a story architect at one point. That went down like a lead balloon. Like, what the heck does that mean? So I stopped that immediately. But what I mean is being able to piece bits of your story together and land them in a really succinct way, but really understanding as well, the different parts of your story. You've talked about, obviously there's key topics that have come up in your life, right? So I think as individuals, what we could really be doing a bit more of is understanding our purpose to speak. Like, what are those key themes, those key topics that have happened in your life that people could really learn from? Because that's all what it is like you've learned something that somebody else might also be going through or not gone through yet. And when you tell your story and you show, like you said, you've been through it, you got out the other side of it, or maybe there was something that you used, a book, a podcast, a tool of some sort that helped you in some way, even if that's a mindset shift or whatever that is, that lesson, that learning that can be passed on is super valuable. They're your golden nuggets. And it's really understanding, what are those topics for you? And then it's a choice, isn't it? It's like, do you get up and share them or not? And so I recently went to the Ultimate Coach, Steve Hardison, his talk. He's fantastic. And he talks about your being. Who are you being? And that's actually something that I have printed out and put on my wall. So every morning I wake up, I look at that and it says, who are you being today? And it's a choice, isn't it? It's like, you can get up and just do nothing and be no one. Or you can actually go and be someone. You can go and literally change people's lives by taking action, taking that first step and sharing your stories. And that is what this is all about. It is all about having a little think about what those stories might be and then having a go at it and sharing them.
Okay, I love that. I love the listening to yourself piece. It's certainly something I'm going to come away from today going, right, I really need to do some soul searching. You're going to help me with this.
Yeah,
we need to talk about you helping me doing all of this that we've spoken about today. So yeah, big thank you. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for heading all the way down from London. And I am going to take you out somewhere nice tonight. There also is a really cool place near where I live called Sobar, which is a sober bar. So maybe we should go there.
Yeah.
Maybe we should go there
Hit
first.
That up.
Fab. Thank you so much for joining, Kate.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Wasn't that episode amazing? Oh my goodness. It actually moved me quite a lot. I took so much away from that, not just in terms of how to present my ideas better, but also, I found it quite emotional at points. It's really interesting how some of these conversations can, really make you think about how you approach work and life in general. So I hope you enjoyed it too. If you did, please do head over to Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review. Of course, please do go and check out Tamba, www.tamba.io. If you liked today's content, I know you're going to love Tamba. And I hope to see you or hear you, or for you to hear us back here again very soon.